to, I don't like the light. It just has so much trouble worrying about the light. Oh, but here it is. Okay. So we're on page Kuf Kaf Daled. We're starting a place called Sod HaNefilim. Okay, so let's just read it. It says, Kospa Pasuk. The Nefilim Koya Ba'aretz. So we're back to the Nefilim again, something like that. Nefilim. So who are these fallen ones? What's the falling about? Elohim. This is the same logic, the same use of words that we had previously of Benos Adam, and this current pasuk la'el that were mentioned up above. This is the pasuk. V'yira Elohim as Benos Adam, v'hein sod shnei meraglim v'shtei zonos. Now, I think that when we we saw something about the meraglim in the Eitz Chaim. So he says these are two meraglim and two unfit or impure women. Shal klipa pligas noga the olam of atzilus of the klipas noga of olam atzilus shenaflo mikdushas and that fell from their kedusha the makam alukva to the homarabba olam abriya. That's really what the Sifra D'tzniuta said in the last chapter. The motion is boyer la'el. So he said v'haina dechseb bezech shekasav b'pasuk. Now that's really interesting. It's going way back into Bereshis, and so he says that they separated there and they came into four heads. The Iri, but he says over here it's the Iri, but it's speaking about the Iber Roshim Shel Olam Abriya. Now I don't know that I know about the four Roshim of the Olam Abriya. And what are they? Behem Shnei Meraglim v'Shtei Zaynis Hanal. These are the two heads that you're talking about. In what way are they ahead? How do we supposed to understand this? Shehem Arba Rosha Klipos. These are, in other words, words of saying that they branched out into these four is actually the four heads of the Klipos. And Arba Klipos. So therefore they're called therefore these four Klipos are called B'Shem Nefilim, those who fall. Me'asa the Isfresh Ginsa Ikri Nefilim. So the place that they separated from this garden, they're called Nefilim. So that whatever falls, into these alamos, they're separated off from the malchus of B'tzilus, so Nikras God. Nikroim became the Nefilim, they're called by the fallen ones. May arrive, and he brings a raya that what falls out of B'tzilus, which is really what he said the last time. 1 second. Maybe raya shall almost bring it seem to sin nifreduka b'malchus B'tzilus. So once I bring a raya that they actually are separated, they're separated out from that level of malchus B'tzilus. The extent Kamosha Kasav the Pasav of Nahar Yotzim Eden, that there is a river that came out from Eden Lahash goes to Sagan in order to water the Gan. So Umisham Yefared, and from once they got to the Gan, then they separated. So it sounds like the first part is talking about Abba moving into Ema, making with Ema in Atzilus, and then producing what they produce, but then they go down and they separate. The Pirish, Gan, Kum, Malchus, and Atzilus. So let's say that's a different way. And from that place down in the Mata, then going downward, Shahim Balomos Bri Yitzim Nasiyah, Hine Misham Yafarid Hagan. That's where the garden starts to separate. The fish of Alamos Elu Nifradid, because these worlds are separated, Mikdusha Atzilus, from the Kedusha of Atzilus. Yidech of the Kachnik, Koim, Klipas Noga, so therefore these Klipas Noga are called B'Shem Nefilim. Okay, so these are the aspects of that fall. He's going to probably label it out a little bit better. So they were originally dinim kedoshim. So he wants to say these were dinim kedoshim, but they lost their kedusha. Yarda the Bechinis Hapirut, they came into the side of being separated from Kedusha Shel Olam Habriya, which is found in Olam Habriya. So then he says like this, V'omer od b'pasuk, and now it says as we go on, and Nefilim koya ba'aretz b'yamim mahem. So what is the yamim mahem? He b'mash amr shechoya b'yamim mahem. Rosh Lomer wants to say like this, lo the bosses in it was at that moment, but not later. Shelo b'choya b'zman shel la'achar came. What does that mean? He la'achar zman. After a certain amount of time, they wind up getting sweetened over a certain of time, which we mentioned before, put it back in. They have another name too, they're called the Nefilim, they're also called the Benos Elohim, and the Bnei Elohim and the Benos Adam. So what are you saying? When was it? When is it that they're become sweetened? Because these Nefilim, they're called by that name, but they stayed in that upper land until Yeshua came along. Now what does that mean? But after the time of Yeshua ben Nun, because Yeshua as Eretz Israel, as the land was conquered, so then the everything was sweetened through the Meraglim that Yeshua, this is a metaphor here, that Yeshua sent into the land of Gomoshen is Boil La'el, and as explained up above, of an Elohim is tomorrow, and then they became hidden away. What does that mean? A nitzvanu, nitmanu, that they are hidden away. B'nei Elohim, shedeka meraglim. So these two meraglim, it goes together with this idea of the spies. Moshe and the Emor, v'tikach ha'isha et shnei ha'anashim v'titzpanu. So she took the two people and she hid them. So he says that this whole pasuk is really talking about this idea. He says that the dinim are being sweetened, that were represented by these meraglim as a result of this woman who took them in. Because at this time that you see that also they were crushed and they were destroyed, the children of the Anak, Achiman, Sheshai V'Talmin, Kababuka B'Sefer Yeshua, which is explained over there, that he was able to destroy all of them. So, this is a very deep metaphor. He said, for the reason for this, the Nefilim now, because that's the reason they was the giants, but they were from the Nefilim. That they were the descendants of these two spies. For Omar Odin, he says furthermore, then there were two other ones that are called by the female name, Adayim Lo Nimtico, they're not sweetened. So he says that during the time of Yoshua, the story about the Meraglim, I'm just trying to piece this together, the story about the Meraglim is really a story about the Hamtaka of these two klipos. Had the Asa of Shlomo until Shlomo came, so the female aspects of that remained unsweetened until Shlomo came. B'shah sheba Shlomo Hamelech, the fish came b'chidas nukva, because there the female aspect shehi dinim kashim b'buvukon la'el. So it's interesting that they said b'chidas, that the two of them. Let me read the sentence again. B'shah sheba Shlomo Hamelech, the fish shehem, which is plural. And there the concept of femininity or some kind of something like that. And then it says shehi, now it's modifying the word nukva, which is singular, dinim kashin kababur la'el. So it came back to just one concept of femininity in some ways, it sounds like. So he said the Benos Adam is kololo. So he said v'ad b'mei Shlomo. Nechlala Benosa Adam, so these Benosa Adam, which is the female aspect of this Klipa Elu, beside the Kedusha, so they're sweetened into, or they're incorporated into Kedusha again. They were able to raise themselves back up into Atzilus again. This is a tremendous yichud of being able to pull out this tremendous amount of I guess, of Netzutzos out of the Klipos. This is the meaning of this. Shlomo Hamelech, that you brought into me also silver and gold. But Ta'anugos Ka'ari. So he says, and it says that these celebrations, the Ta'anugos, or what the sweetness is, Ka'ari Ta'anugim, the lo Ka'ari. So he says, look at the pasuk over there, and it says the Ta'anugos is female, is feminine, and it doesn't say Ta'anugim. So what does this mean? So here it wants to say that this is a hint to the fact that that we're bringing in now during the time of Shlomo Hamelech the sweetening of these two klipos. Below kara ta'anugim b'lashon zochar kibal their moz. So it comes to their moz bezeh Shlomo hiknis l'tzad kedusha. As a shtei nashim zonos shehem benos adam. Let's go on. So see a little bit more. Okay, so it says like this. Here we go. When Messiah b'pasuk and it closes up a little bit this pasuk here in Koheles, he says v'tanugos b'nei adam shida v'shidos. So what is a shida and shidos? So now it says that these so he says that these are other spirits. That says b'nei adam, the feature near mezuzah b'milas elu. So there's a reference here in these words gam ruchos secherim, and they crime the goy b'nei adam, which are called the plagues of man. Shading, ruchos, shiyansach, and ma'ada, merishon, and this is he had this word, shida and shidos. So it sounds like two feminine words, but he says at any rate, there's shadim and ruchos, shiyansach, and ma'ada, merishon, but through the two female ruchos. That's why they call them the b'nei, the children of men. That are children. But these are the Shadim and the Ruchos. The Lo is Kalala b'Chachmei law that never were in part of the Chachmei law. V'hinei Ruchos elu sheyatzim Adam Rishon lo nechlala b'Chachmei Elyonet kamo shar devarim shebekadusha. So there's no kedusha in them. They never got to the place where they got that close. But the Netzutzos Kedusha that were part of these Shadim, he says they come back. And then because of he was the Chachma because Adam, this is the Chachma that he brings, they become part of the upper Chachma. But in Yehusha Shlomo Hamelech Zachal the Chachma Yonah, that he had the Chachma Yonah, so he could use it. As called a Netzutzos Kedusha, his called the Chachma Yonah. As a result of that, he brought them all back and to be incorporated into that. It's a tremendous unity. That's it. Moshe Kasav, for Hashem Nasan Chachma Shlomo, that Hashem gave Chachma to Shlomo. The Perusha Shekol Netzutzos Kedusha Shechoyu Kalulu b'Chachma. So now what's to say like this? That all of the sparks, the holy sparks, that were incorporated in Chochmah. So let me say it again. They're originally part of Chochmah. The yachts of the chutz, and they wind up just as we are talking about it, falling into the outside world. He put all of them into the control of Shlomo. The Shlomo had the kedusha, and that's what Shlomo did. The came Mikol Adam, that he was more wise than anyone else. What's the word? It's Lashon Chachma. So the Pirusha Shlomo Hamelech Zochal the Chachma Yosef Mikol Adam, he had more control of the Chachma, of the flow of Chachma than anybody. Kolomer Af Yosef Adam Arishon, even more, he says, than Adam Arishon. He said, Mishum Behanigalo is Kalola Barada. He said, B'Shecha Bizman Adam Rishon. So he says like this: by the time that Adam Rishon was created, no Nechlala Barucha B'Shedi B'Chach B'Radyonik. Now they were not, they're already not incorporated with the Chachma Elyonim of the Elov Etzel Shlomo. But by the time we came now to a later day, the Elov Etzel Shlomo Hamelech called Nitzutas Hakedushos, Nitzutas Hakedusha, Shehoy Beruchos Elov, that all of the sparks of Kedusha that were in these Ruchos, Chazav and Echlal B'Mala B'Chach Elyonim. So I'm real stuck back here a little bit because he says Shahare Bizman Adam Arishon, the time of Adam Arishon. Now I thought that this was the Shadim were created at the time, after the time of the Chet. That's what I thought. Here over he says that they were already separated from Kedusha. Okay, so they were existing in some way. That's what it sounds like. Before at the time of Adam Arishon, they were already separated from Kedusha. Let's go on. It didn't mean that he actually rose to the level where he had this within him, this Abba Mamish. Hashem Ilah, Ella, Shlomo Zocha L'Sod Hashem El Yonah Rishona, or El Yonah could be the first Hashem, the first time that you see the manifestation, then Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shal Shem Havaya Shehi Ima, of the name Havaya, which it says Ima. Now let me ask, I'm not really sure about that. So he says Hashem Shlomo Zocha L'Sod Hey El Yonah. I'm sorry, so I missed it. So it means the first Hey in the Yud Kei Vav Kei, Shel Shem Havaya, which refers to Ima. So we know that that's the way the water flows. It flows from Abba to Ima. But Ima as called the Chachma to Shlomo, and then from there the Chachma is Mushpa to Shlomo. V'yach came the Minor is Hakam L'Sata. V'chein Marsha Omer, because of V'yach came the call Adam, that he became wiser than any other man. That the fact is that he had a deep relationship with Ima, who has Abba inside of him. And then so my question is that why did he go over here and he said that it's not that Shlomo had this Chachma inside of him? He really wanted to say that he has Ima inside of him, and she's pouring out Chachma. That seems to me what I heard him say. Okay, okay, we'll stop right here. Okay, Carl, thank you very much. All the best.